Good afternoon. This is your fourth day or fifth? Fifth. So, primarily I will focus on the data analysis part. Okay. So, before entering into data analysis, I am sure that you know the different analytical process with the help of which qualitative data analysis takes place, because this program is primarily focusing on analysis of qualitative data. Unlike quantitative data, which basically proceeds through a very linear sort of relationship between variables, qualitative data is basically a cyclical process. Analysis is cyclical. Because in case of qualitative data analysis, the data that we gather is very subjective in nature. Or in other words, if we put it, it is non-metric in nature at times. Because we do not fix any quantitative parameters to collect those data. For example, in case of, if we operate through focus group studies, focus group interviews. Okay, so all those interviews, even if it is a direct interview 1:1, or if it is even a group interview where you are interacting with a group, the data that you are generating is basically unstructured in nature, because in most of the cases you are throwing open-ended question, and to an open-ended question there will be a big paragraph or even 2-page answers. So those answers are pretty difficult to interpret, because you see, we have seen that if we allow the same group to interact with two different interviewers, same group, two interviewers, with same set of questions being asked to the group, at the end of the day, when these two interviewers are analyzing those inputs, there are different interpretations, because subjective interpretation, there cannot be any a definite type of output interpretation. Like in case of quantitative analysis, if you conduct a regression or a correlation or whatever quantitative techniques you are approaching, if you are following a pure quantitative data analysis, your output is supposed to be a definite type, where interpretation of that output is possible on the basis of the references that are given. But in case of qualitative data analysis, this interpretation becomes very dicey in the sense that you tend to analyze the document on the basis of, say, what is the basic theme coming out of that particular document. And when you are actually analyzing a series of documents, you are trying to integrate all the documents with the help of a common theme. A researcher, a qualitative researcher, when he is adopting processes like grounded theory, or say discourse analysis or narrative analysis, okay, in the mind of the researcher, it is going on that how to build up a theme, how to build up a schedule, okay, and then this researcher is opting for several methods like case study, like FGI, like direct interviews, like observation techniques, etc., with the help of which he or she is collecting a lot of inputs in the form of unstructured subjective data. So to start with, when you are assigning your research question, after identifying your research problem, you are assigning a research question which will actually solve the research problem, and according to the research question you are setting up the objectives. Unlike the quantitative research work, where after the setting of objectives we are laying down a number of hypotheses, stating or assuming that there can be a probable relationship between variables, say dependent or independent variables. But in case of qualitative research work, we do not have that particular chance to create any very objective type of hypothesis. So what a researcher primarily does, a researcher collects various types of data and then try to build a unified theme which will connect all these data. Say you are doing a research work on say sustainable development, or you are doing a research work on say children education, or you are doing a research work on any topic of geography with the help of geospatial data. When you are collecting data in various formats, isn't it? There will be text inputs, there will be graphical inputs. Graphical inputs in the sense there can be images, okay, and you need to analyze that image also, because that image becomes a part of your data input. Then there can be lots of videos which you are shooting. Say for example the focus group. Focus group, if you are just recording the transcripts and you are not making any audio copy of that interview or a videography of that particular interview, you may lose a number of non-verbal gestures, and which may become very important at the end of the day for analysis. Okay, you are asking a question to an interviewee. Say that after asking the question, the interviewee pauses for a moment, then answers. Why did he pause? Because when you are writing it plainly, that pause will not come as a transcript. Or you have asked a question, the interviewee laughs, then answers the question. Or the interviewee's facial expression changes, then answers the question. So if you are going for only documentation type of textual transcript, it becomes a bit difficult to actually gather the sentiment or the emotion associated with those answers. Then at the end of the day, when you are analyzing those data, probably a big part of that emotional or psychological part is omitted. Okay. So as the researchers say, suppose you have conducted 15 such FGIs, 15 focus group interviews, okay? You have a single objective in your mind that this is my research question, this is my research problem, and this is the objective of my research. So whatever you have studied in the form of FGI, that has to be analyzed in integration with each other. Those FGIs cannot be, standalone cases. You need to find out a common thread, isn't it, that integrates all those FGI, because at the end of the day, you want to find out that particular solution which will address your research problem, which will answer your research problem, okay. So, manually, what we used to do in terms of data analysis, probably, I am not a qualitative researcher, basically I am a quantitative researcher. But what I have seen with my peers is, what they do, they study each and every data output manually, okay? And what they do, they use a scribbling pad and they note down various things, their own interpretations, or coding a data. Suppose they are selecting a part of a particular case and they are highlighting it with different color pens and pencils, and they are writing a specific code, okay? Then what they are doing at the end of the analysis, they are trying to find out how many similar codes have been generated across all the data inputs. So those similar codes, they actually provide the researcher with a storyline or with a schedule. That these are the things which are common, and these are the things that are coming out of my research, which are common to all the groups. Okay. Now, recently what has happened, not recently, at least 5 to 6 years from now, we are shifting from this manual based operation to a software based qualitative data analysis, okay. Now the question is whether the software is doing anything different from that what you were doing doing manually. No. The software also allows you to do the coding. The software allows you to write the memos. The software allows you to edit quotations, to edit comments. But what additionally the software does, the software allows you to create the ultimate network. That is manually, virtually is impossible. Okay. Ultimate network means what? Whatever you have coded, that will be networked by the software. So, in other terms, we can say that software allows you for data visualization, which in manual case is not possible. Okay, suppose for example, if somebody is interested to analyze social network data, which is very unstructured and it flows in huge quantity with a lot of different type of syntaxes. Okay, there is language problems because a lot of shortcut of languages are being used, lot of special characters are being used. Okay, say for example you want to analyze tweets from Twitter. Okay, actually what we analyze in tweets, we normally analyze the retweets of a particular tweet. Say a particular public figure has given a tweet and there against a single tweet there are 500 retweets. Okay, so what we actually try to find out on those retweet count, what is the emotion working of the people against that particular tweet being made. So when I am flowing those data in my software, the software actually clean those, actually it enacts the cleaner. All those special characters, etc., the characters which cannot be interpreted properly, all those things are filtered out. So what we are retaining is the text without distorting the emotion associated with that particular text. So those are the things which can be used when you are using qualitative analysis software. But rest of the things, you see, software cannot be a replacement to what a researcher feels or what a researcher thinks. Okay, so the thought process of the researcher will always be there. The software will only assist you. Okay, so I will just go through a very small slide presentation. There are many softwares in the market with the help of which you can go for qualitative data analysis. There is Max QDA, there is a very popular software called NVivo. NVivo is basically used for literature review also. And then there is a very popular software called Atlas TI. Okay, Atlas TI also can be used for literature review, also for data analysis. Okay, because literature review to according to me is one of the most time consuming thing that a particular researcher comes across. Okay, so almost 50% of the research time is devoted for reviewing literature, preparing the theoretical ground, and then identifying the gaps in the research, etc. So almost 50% of the time is taken up by review of the literature, and the rest almost 20-25% of the time is taken up by referencing and bibliography. So actually research, it comes down to almost say 20-25%. But I am sure that, are you using any, how normally do you perform literature review? Manually, I suppose, or you use any content aggregator to aggregate contents? Manually you do. I will just, before entering into Atlas TI, I will show you one thing which you can find it very helpful. Let me just connect to the net so that these days there are lots of content aggregators. What we read in a journal paper, how do you perform a literature review? You go through a journal paper, we summarize it, isn't it? Summarize it in which context, that what are the variables studied, in which context the paper has been written, what methodology has been followed in the paper, and what are the conclusions, what are the outcomes. So normally we summarize on that. And as a researcher, we are going through at least say 100 papers like that. Okay, before we draw similarities between all those papers. Okay, so you can go through one process which will make your make your task a little bit easier. This is one content aggregator tool that we will be sharing. In Google Chrome, you go to Chrome Web Store. So we need an extension which is called Scholarcy, S-C-H-O-L-A-R-C-Y. S-C-H-O-L-A-R-C-Y, this one. Okay. Now, since I am already having it, once you install this Scholar C, it will be just like an extension. Like in Mozilla, you have
adds to Chrome.
Adds to Chrome.
Adds to Chrome.
Yeah.
Add-on tools.
Yeah. That is only an add-on. Okay. Now, once it is added, this type of icon will come in the navigation bar. Okay, this one. Clear? So once it is added to your Chrome extension bar, you just click it. Now you will get this particular. This is an artificial intelligence based content aggregator. So you choose a file. Okay. So let me give a file to just a random file. Okay. Now it will work. See, after it finishes working, what it will do, it will give you these results. Okay. Say for example the highlights. These are the paper highlights. In literature review, you do the same thing. You want to find out what are the highlights of the paper. Okay. Then this is the summary. Okay. You can have the summary of the paper. Remember, I am not suggesting that replace your manual process with the help of this. This is just because you see a researcher's insight is the major thing. Okay. So you can go through the paper instead of going for a manual aggregation, content aggregation. Then you can take the help of the software which can squeeze the data and form those aggregations. Okay. Now one of the best advantages of this is if I come down. Actually, the full screen is not available. At the end of that thing, at the end of all those search tabs, you will find one tab called references. Do you see in your computer?
Yes.
At the end of it, there is a tab of references. You click it. The main advantage of this is it will give you details of all the references used in this particular paper. This is number one. But the best thing is you will get all the open source data. You will find one particular symbol, a log has been opened. So you can actually directly click that link and get to that particular data. Okay. So these are some of the advantages of these content aggregators. Okay. You can use this as a addition to what you are doing in your literature review.
That's why we do the summary of all literature reviews.
Yes. Even the tables can be extracted. You have another option that tables can be directly extracted. That software can directly extract individual tables and graphs. If you require a single table you can give a source code. Okay. You can acknowledge the source and you can use the table. Suppose you are putting a report of, say, United Nations and you are analyzing it. So the report will aggregate the content, summarize the gist, and what is important about this type of UN reports or UNESCO report, they use a number of tables which are very authentic. And you can actually extract one of the tables and you can use it by just quoting the source. So it will take you out of the plagiarism issue if you acknowledge that particular table. Okay. Anyway.
So the references we have to give and then it will get summarized.
Which one?
Suppose the problem which I am working, the review of literature, I have to collect and give it there.
No. You suppose you are operating on. You create one folder where all your journal papers will be stored. All the journal papers, say in PDF format or Word format, whatever it is. Okay. And then you actually show the path of that paper to the software. The software will analyze the paper. Okay, but my recommendation is to go through the paper manually. Then you can have some idea about the paper, what it is saying what are the gist of the paper. But what the software will do, the software will assist you to aggregate it, okay, and identify what are the main points of this particular paper, so that you need not go through a manual painstaking process to again jot down the points. So you go through the paper, you have certain idea about the paper, then allow the software to do the same job. Okay, so since you have gone through the paper, and when you will go through the output of the software, you can easily tell whether something has been left out by the software or not. You can add that point only, but the bulk of the job will be done by the software. Okay. So this particular software, which is named as Atlas-TI, this software can be used for two purposes. One is basically to do the literature review and can store the literature review part, and the second one is analysis of the qualitative data. Okay, so I am just okay, these are the potential data which you can actually, which the software can actually analyze. Okay, so it can be interviews, like focus group, it can be an observation, case studies. The main advantage is it can use the image as an input and analyze image, or video as an input and analyze the video. Obviously, the codification has to be done by the researcher. It can use the audio file, the survey documents, particularly the survey sheets that are created in MS Excel or any other spreadsheet version. Okay, and basically what we do in qualitative research is like this. If we focus on the manual process, isn't it? So there are a lot of field notes that you are taking, and there are lots of scribblings. You are highlighting some part and you are saying something about it, you are then underlining some part, you are making circles around some part, and you are putting a code. So this is what we used to do, and we will do the same thing in the machine, but at the end of the day the machine will give you certain outputs that probably is not possible when we are doing certain manual data operation. Okay. So qualitative software, analysis software, what it can do, it can actually use text, PDF, image or video, and then it can codify it, it can import the demographics, it can export the coded quotation in any form, because when you are preparing certain reports, suppose you are writing a journal paper, you require the analysis part to be exported in some kind of a format. Say in an Excel sheet or in a PDF file or in a Word document, so that you can insert it in your paper or a PhD thesis. Okay, so it has that quality of exporting coded quotations. It can add memos. Memos are basically the interpretation of the researchers. Codes are basically what? Codes are, suppose you have a textual part or a graphical part, you are selecting a part of that particular text and then you are making a code. So that selection part becomes a quotation. Quotation means the original data, the metadata that you are accessing. The data that you have collected from the field, directly from the field, if it is a primary type of research, or if you are collecting from the secondary sources or tertiary sources, that becomes a part of your raw data. So when you are codifying a raw data, codifying means a part of the data will be selected and that particular part will be coded by your own input. It may be alphanumerical in nature, or you can put a word, okay, for coding it, or you can put a full sentence for coding that part. Okay. Now, how coding is different from memoing? See, coding basically is very, a small fragment. Okay. Maybe a phrase, maybe a single word, maybe a small sentence, but memo is something which elaborates your interpretation about that particular quotation. Okay, memo is something which is much more elaborative, and and I can say a memo can run several pages. Okay, say 2 or 3 pages that you are writing about that particular selection. Your interpretation about that particular selection. It may be 1 page, it may be big, 1 paragraph. A memo can be a research question also, or you can put a question to yourself that I am not getting adequate, information out of this. Probably I need to collect more data. These are something for the researchers himself or herself to understand the data in a better way in future. Okay. So there is a subtle difference between a code and a memo. A code actually puts a synopsis in the form of a single word or a single sentence or a phrase of a particular selected original input data. And when you are making elaboration with the help of your own acumen, with the help of your own interpretation, with the help of your own knowledge, then it becomes a memo. Okay, so memo is something which speaks about researchers' own input based on the codification of the original data. Okay. So this qualitative software, it allows you to add memos, and then it can run the searches also. Searches for other kind of data which are relevant to your particular research. Okay, now we are just going through a textual part of Atlas TI before we directly access the software. So Atlas TI, what it requires is when you are storing the files, okay, the input data, follow certain basic things. You create one folder in your hard drive where all the files will be stored, and the files should be named very descriptively. You see, I have given certain examples. Say if it is an interview file, okay, you mention the interview, type of interview. If it is an FGI, if it will be FGI. And if you want to make it more specific, you can use the geolocation tag also. Geolocation means if you are conducting FGI in one of the villages near, Bolpur, you put that name of the village in that file. Okay, so that it becomes it acts as an identifier. Because you see, you are making say 15 to 20 FGIs spreading say 5 to 6 villages. So every geographical location or geolocation will be enacting as an identifier. Okay. So interview underscore date of the interview, name of the interviewee, file type. File type means if it is .doc, it can be .pdf. Okay, the type of file that in which you are storing. In case of case study also, the name of the case underscore the date on which the case is created, geolocation where the case is located, and then the file type. If it is an observational data, in case of observational data, we tend to collect a lot of categorical data input also. So observation underscore date underscore the group identifier. Group identifier means which group you are observing. Are you observing a group or are you observing an individual? So it can be a group identifier, it can be an individual identifier also. Then again geolocation, where you have conducted this observation, and then the file type. Then similarly in case of FGI underscore date, group identifier, it will be group because FGI is a group activity, geolocation, file type. So these are the few homeworks that you need to do before you start operating with the help of a software.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it an Excel file or will be the Excel file?
No. File type can be, you see, in case of a case data, file type may be a .doc, same as word type. Okay. If you have an interview which has been arranged in an Excel sheet, then it will be .xlss or
There's a file, my file name. That have to
These are the file names.
File name.
Yeah. So that it can be identified very easily, because once you are incorporating into the software and when you will be analyzing it, you should be very clear whose interview the software is accessing.
Suppose we are interviewing a tribe family. Then the interview means we have to write down the interview means tribals. Then date.
Okay.
Then name of the interview is whose person I have taken interview. Some something. Then the file type is .doc.
Yeah. You can add the geolocation tag here also.
Geolocation tag also.
Okay. So it's according to your convenience. So that
should we do this to identify the file easily on the
Yeah, no, actually you can identify the file very easily. The objective is the software should identify the file very easily. Okay. So separate each interview, survey respondent, cluster, field notes, etc., cases, etc. that should be maintained very separately and organized in specific folders in your computer hard drive, or there is a process. There is an option of creating document groups in Atlas TI, so you can directly store it into the Atlas TI.
When we are taking some quantitative data in a qualitative analysis, can we do this?
Because it will be stored only in Excel spreadsheet, Excel or spreadsheet. Yeah, you can import spreadsheet. No problem. Now, format basically, you see, the 8th version of Atlas TI, it converts the .doc into .rtf. Okay, so that is not a headache for you. For earlier version, you need to save the doc version or the documentary part into .rtf format. The rest of the thing, the Atlas TI 8 version is actually converting the data which can be easily analyzed by Atlas TI. So that's not a big issue. So this is the interface of Atlas TI, okay, and you can see that you can create a project from here. If you just click it, a particular tab will come out and you can put your name of the project and click OK. The project will be created and the project will be created like this. You put a name, the name will come here. Now there are certain issues associated with Atlas TI. Actually there are 3 specific areas. One is the upper ribbon part. All the analytical tools are in the upper ribbon part. This is the project navigator. All the documents, codes, memos and networks that you are creating will be stored there. And this is the workspace. Workspace means it's almost like a MS Word document type, where all the documents, all the columns will be opened and you can create your own analysis over here. All the analytical process will be reflected over here. Okay. Now in the ribbon you will find 2 things. One is from the home there is option called new entities. From there you can actually go for coding and memoing and networking, etc. Or alternatively you can do it from here. Okay. And there is a search function. In the search function basically you can go across your stored documents, what you have stored in Atlas TI, and you can get all the things. There is a search term. If you have stored certain document in the document group of Atlas TI and you want to retrieve it, you can write the term over here and click this search function, it will be retrieved. One of the major functions of Atlas TI, it allows you to export or import data. Okay. So when you are importing data, suppose you are using, these days we are using a number of reference managers for writing the bibliographic content. आगे की हो तो हमरा manually लिखता, and it is a lot of time taking. So nowadays what we are doing, we are either using Mendeley or EndNote or Zotero. These lots of smart referencing tools are there. So actually you can use this as a reference manager, or your bibliographic content will be imported. Okay. So if you are using Mendeley, Mendeley can be integrated over here. Mendeley basically is marketed by Elsevier. Okay, so Mendeley's reference can be imported. If you are using Zotero, Zotero is free software. You can download and use it, Zotero. So Zotero's referencing system can be imported here, or if you are using EndNote, EndNote can also be imported here. Okay, you can export or import the SPSS job. So if you are going for, a number of times we have seen, for example, I told you about the tweeted data. In case of a tweeted data, the tweeted data are being fed as a textual data. Okay, all those tweets and retweets. But when it is analyzed by software, it is converted into a non-metric numerical data. It's almost like a categorical data. Like how many positive tweets are there, how many negative tweets are there, how many neutral tweets are there. So then they are represented by numerals. Okay, that thing can be exported to an SPSS file for further categorical analysis. Okay. Now in the analysis part, you have two things. One is called a query tool, and then we have almost like in case of quantitative analysis, there is an option called correlation analysis between two variables, the strength of associationship between two variables. So almost like that, there is a code co-occurrence table. Code co-occurrence table basically gives you an idea how many codes are occurring together. Or in other words, we can say that what is the correlation coefficient between these two codes, how many times they co-occur, okay? And there is a C coefficient. Almost it's not numerical in nature, subjective in nature, but that C coefficient gives you an idea whether the co-occurrence of these codes are significant enough or not. You are coding. See, the codes are not automatic. The code is actually the codification is done by the researcher. But when the researcher is doing the same code, that means he is going through almost the same inputs. As a result of which, he is performing the same code. He is, suppose the researcher is studying 3 FGIs. And since your objective is unique, objective is same, although you are conducting 3 FGIs, you are keeping in mind that my objective is this. So after conducting the 3 FGIs, almost same kind of output is coming out. Say for example, and when you are actually analyzing, you have seen that a single code has been used for all the 3 FGIs. Okay, so a single code is co-occurring for 3 different types of data input. So we can check 2 things. One is how many times 2 codes or more than 2 codes are occurring together. Number 1, and number 2, how many times a code is associated with a document, that particular code has been also associated with other documents. Okay. And this is a unique thing which is called an enable intercoder mode. You see, Atlas TI is having another version which is called Atlas TI Cloud. Okay. See, for funded research project. Okay. Suppose UGC is funding or DST is funding certain projects, there more than one researcher is working. So it is like a collaborative research project. And the things can be much more complicated if one researcher is in India, the second researcher is in Malaysia, third researcher is in US, but you are doing the same project. That means you are accessing the same data. Okay. So this Atlas TI Cloud enables you to code a single data by 3 different or 4 different researchers who are situated in 4 different corners of the world. Okay, they are using the same data. I am coding, similarly my fellow researcher is also coding from US. Another fellow researcher is sitting in Taiwan, he is also accessing and coding. So at the end, we are getting say 4 to 5 researchers are there, they are putting certain codes. See, I am thinking from one point of view. Maybe other researchers can think from different point of view. So it only enriches the output. So that can be aggregated. So there is a, you can enable this intercoder mode, but intercoder mode in case of Atlas TI's static application, what will happen, if we enable intercoder mode, it has to be done in a single machine, in a single standalone machine. So if you have 4 students doing the same project, you allow all the 4 students to sit in that computer, access the same data and put the codes. Okay, and then it can be combined, the output can be combined on the basis of how many similar codes or similar nature codes have been done. But that is for a standalone concept. If it is Atlas TI, the not cloud or non-cloud version. Okay, but in case of a cloud version, there is no question of a standalone machine. Okay. Now there are certain tools and supports, particularly this tool is very useful. You can go to certain links of Atlas TI where a number of manuals of Atlas TI, YouTube videos, etc. are available. So you can go through those tutorials. And this is one of the analytical tools which is called a query tool. Query tool basically is It's almost like if you have the experience of using any database management system, like structured query language is used. Suppose, yeah, SQL. I am storing a data and I am trying to retrieve a data.
Advanced search.
Yeah,
technique.
yeah. I am what?
That means search strategy.
Search strategy. So what I am putting certain question to the software. Okay, I have stored enough data and I am putting certain question to the software. The questions are a bit complicated. It's not a very simple question, search this thing for me. Okay, it's not like that. I am putting a question, search this thing in connection with these variables. Okay, so you will find three sets of operators are there. One is called a set operator. This is also known as a Boolean operator. Then there is a semantic operator, and then there is a proximity operator. So these three operators are used separately to go for the queries. Okay, now you see, if I am using the set operators or the Boolean operators, what it will do, it will try to find the combination of terms according to the set operations. Okay, if I am using the semantic operator, it will try to identify the code-to-code semantic network. So how many codes have been interlinked in a particular network? Okay. The third one is the proximity operator. Query the data according to the spatial proximity of the quotation links to specific codes. This, when we will take up example, we can go for more details. Then in that query ribbon, there is another option which is called edit scope. Okay. If you are going for this particular scope tool, it will open up this edit scope. Edit scope means when I am going for retrieving data or when I am going for retrieving text or content, in which context I am trying to retrieve, it will allow you to fix that. Okay, so what is the scope of the search? So if you are limiting the scope of the search within certain specific documents, say I have stored 50 number of documents. Okay, those are all input documents, all MGI, all case studies, all literature review documents, everything. So I am limiting the scope of search in certain documents. Okay, say I want to search or I want to start a query with related to the data input that I have got only from Birbhum district. Okay, so I am limiting the scope of search. Okay, or I want to initiate a search or a query sort of thing where I am limiting the scope of search among only the case studies that I have conducted, not other things. Okay, so it will only go for the case studies only. Or I want to find out these connections between codes and memos and comments in my FGIs. So it will only search FGI. So in edit scope, you can actually put it's almost like a filtration technique with the help of which other things will be filtered out and the query will operate only in the scope area. Okay. Fine, quotations, memos and all these things, these are some operations. So let us just take up the software and then we can see certain primary functions of it. Atlas TI, you can, I think many of you have downloaded Atlas TI 8, which is
Trial version.
yeah, the trial version. The trial version works fair enough.
If you have to work on this version. The trial is keep on 1 month. But purchase sometime.
Unfortunately, actually, you see these Atlas TI, in Vivo and Max QDA, these three are proprietary software. So proprietary software, it doesn't have any free version, but there is a software by the name Acquad, AQUAD. Acquad is a qualitative data analysis tool which is free. Okay, so if you download Acquad, you can use it. Acquad, it performs the same thing that is performed by Atlas TI. Like in case of SPSS, SPSS is very costly, isn't it? And most of the universities and colleges, they do not have the licensed version of SPSS. So I recommend to use the PSPP. PSPP is a free software. It does all the analytical process which is done by SPSS. Okay. Like many researchers, when they are using advanced multivariate techniques, they are using say factor analysis or structural equation modeling. For that structural equation modeling, there is a module, add-on module of SPSS called AMOS, analysis of moment of structure. See, AMOS is again a very costly thing. Our university, it purchased SPSS, the basic module, for 13 lakhs. AMOS is an add-on module. One add-on module, it is 12 lakhs. So we have purchased one SPSS with 4 licenses, 32 licenses, only 4 modules. So with AMOS, it's 25 lakhs. So it's not possible for each and every individual researcher or college or university. So we need to explore what are the free options available in the internet. So SPSS immediate free version is PSPP. So you can download. What is the only difference is PSPP is less attractive in its interface. It almost like a black and white DOS type of interface. Otherwise, it does the same thing. And people who are using structural equation modeling, instead of going for AMOS, they can go for Lisrael. Lisrael it is available in the internet in 2 versions. One is called the instructor's version. Instructor's version is premium version, that means you have to pay for it. And then there is a student version which is free. Lisrael, L-I-S-A-R-E-L. And Lisrael basically does the same thing that AMOS does. Okay, the path analysis, the structural equation modeling, the moderation analysis, the mediation analysis. Okay, so all those things can be done with the help of Lisrael. Or you can use the Smart PLS. Smart PLS is free. The partial least square method of analyzing path.
So you do Advent or what is it?
Acquad, A-Q-U-A-D.
A-G.
A-D. A-D. Okay. So this is the interface of Atlas TI. So if you open Atlas
For the
TI,
referencing style, what are the free software for the reference?
Zotero is free. Zotero you can download. Yeah, Zotero you can download and you can integrate with your Chrome browser or Mozilla Firefox, whatever browser you are using. Okay, and Zotero gives a very nice opportunity to streamline all the data that are flowing. Say Zotero can directly access the Google Scholar. So if you are searching anything from Google Scholar, say any papers from Google Scholar, if you are typing some text in Google Scholar, search bar which is relevant to your individual research area, and it will open up a number of papers, say in PDF format. If you are specifying the file type also, it will only open say PDF documents or
So add-on file. Zotero is add-on.
Zotero is an add-on. But in Zotero, what you need to do is you need to create a library first. Okay. In that particular library, you need to bring all your input data. So that particular library will be accessed by your other applications. Okay, say for example, you are typing something in Word. Okay, you have typed a particular line and then you want to insert a reference within bracket. Okay, say XYZ, 1960. That thing you need not do manually. So that will be taken care by Zotero. You just show the path of that particular document which is there stored in the library, and the reference will be directly accessed. Okay. If I get a time, I will show the operation. Okay. So in Atlas TI, you click this particular tab, create a new project. Say we create a project on say sustainable development. This is just a random project that we are creating. Okay, so now this project is open with this name that you have given. Okay, So what is the first thing? We need to add document, or we need to import document. Okay. So this is a particular tab with the help of which you can add documents. So you go to this, you add files. You can add for video, audio documents also, or even geo document. So I am just adding files. Say for example, okay. So there are certain files. So let us import 1, 2, 3, 4. Say I am importing 4 documents. So the software will start this function of adding documents. You see what it does simultaneously, it is converting the documents. Okay, the document that is suitable for a class TI software, you need not convert it. The software is capable enough to convert. Okay. Now on this navigation pane, you will find that 4 documents have been added, isn't it? Now if I expand it, there is a triangular icon over here. Have you seen it? Just beside the document there is a triangular icon. Okay, if I click it, it will expand. So you see all these documents have been added. These documents that I have taken from my computer. Okay, and now I can open the document here only. Here means in this workspace it will be open. So if I click this, see it is open. Okay, so if I click this, it will be open. Similarly, say for example, say I am adding more document, adding more file. Let us now add one video file, okay, which is relevant for my research area, or I can add 2 video files. So you add it in the same way. Now there are 6 documents. Okay, you see 2 of the documents are video files. Okay, 4 documents are text type, either doc or PDF, and 2 documents are video files. So let us see whether we have any graphical image. So that we have certain pictures of sustainable development. So let us add all. Okay. So you see now there are 10 documents, out of which, see I have almost 3 different kinds of document. The text document, I have 2 video documents, and I have 3 graphical images. Okay. So let us see the graphical image. This is one. This is another. This is another. So I have 4, graphical images that I have selected as my sustainable development initiative for the project. Okay. You can close these document windows. And now what is the next task? Once you incorporate, my suggestion is as a researcher, your first task will be to prepare all the documents in your drive, all the documents, all the focus group interviews, case studies, whatever you are having, all the literature supports, everything. You just finish doing that, then import it in Atlas TI for analysis part. Okay. So after importing all the documents which are essential for your analysis, you open the first document. Say this is the first document. Okay, so this is all about composite indicators of environmental stability by certain authors, and you can do two things. The first thing is you use a content aggregator that I showed you, that Scholarly. Already the highlights will be there, the summarizations will be there. So you can import the summarization here directly, not the entire document. Since the summarization will come here, it will be easy for you to code it, because those parts have been already highlighted. So once the part is highlighted, it becomes easier for you to code it. Otherwise, what you have to do, you have to go through the entire text and find out which part is important in the context of my study. And then you have to highlight those parts and code it. Okay. So what we do is, say for example, I am just doing it randomly, say over here, if I want to code, what I said at the beginning is, this is your raw data, isn't it? What I have opened is the raw input. Okay, so basically this is the metadata that you are having. So this part is a part of your quotation. Okay, you need to identify a part of the quotation that you need to quote. Which part of the quotation? That is very much relevant for your research work. This part is giving me certain inputs for my research, or you can say this particular part is indicating very significant thing for my research work. Say for example, over here, if I want to select a part of the quotation, you place your cursor over here, like the way you are selecting the Word document. You just simply place the cursor over here and you bring it up to, say, this area. Okay, see, it is selected. So this becomes your primary quotation. You see, I can actually store it as a part of the quotation. I can store it without codifying it. Okay, how is it? Say, in the selection part, you just right click. The part that you have selected, you go for a right click. You see, at the very top, there is an option called create free quotation. You just click it. At the sidebar, you will find one blue strip. This is created. Okay, the length of this particular strip will be same as the length of the quotation. Okay, see, I have not coded, but I have segregated it because I feel that this particular part will be used for the further analysis of my research, because I think this part is very important. I did not code it, but I have made a selection and I have stored it for further referral. Okay. In the textbook or in the journal paper, you are doing the same thing. What you are doing, you are selecting a particular part, you are marking a particular part. Why you are marking it? So that it becomes very useful in future when you are searching. You are putting a tag. See, the teachers or the people who are doing administrative jobs, they are using sticky notes. Either in the form of, in machine we have a sticky note option, or you are doing it physically. Isn't it? You purchase colorful sticky notes and you are placing it as a page marker, or you are putting certain piece of information about that particular page. That is basically what you are doing, you are tagging a page. What that page is all about. Yes, it's a marker, nothing else. Okay. So I have made a selection of this particular part because I feel this part will be used for the further research, and this part is very useful. It tells me certain important thing about my research. Okay. Then I have put a quotation over here. They selected the quotation and I have just put a quotation tag. Okay. Now I want to code it. Okay. I am not only selecting the quotation, but I am coding the quotation also. Okay. So again, you go for a right click. There is an option called open coding. You just go for open coding, and then this is the researcher's prerogative how to code. Okay. So let us go through the paragraph quickly. It talks about two different kind of indicators for sustainable development. One is related to GDP, that is the economic indicator, and one is related to human development index, that is a social indicator perhaps. Okay, so I am just going for open coding. Say sustainable developer underscore indicators. Okay, see, I can add another code. It's not that I have to limit myself by creating a single code. So let us add another code, say economic indicator, and the second one is social indicator. Okay, so I am creating the code. Now you see, this particular quotation is now coded by 3 codes. Clear? Okay, so this particular quotation is coded by 3 codes. I have primarily coded it with the help of sustainable development indicators, and since this part is talking about 2 specific indicators, one is called economic indicator, one is called social indicator, I have tagged the entire code with the help of these 3 codes. Okay, so let us further explore this document. Say over here, it is saying that here the human development index on the other hand is far less robust indicator regarding all 3 criteria of salience, credibility and legitimacy. So let us code it. Okay, HDI as indicator. Fine, I am creating a code, but now I want to add a memo to it, because I have read that the person who has written this particular article is expressing certain doubts that whether human development index can be used as a robust indicator for sustainable development, because it cannot explain certain things which are associated to purely economic criteria. Okay, so I can add a memo. So how can I add a memo? Just go to the home, new entities, new memo. Okay, now new memo, say HDI related question. Isn't it? I have a doubt with regard to HDI. Can HDI be used as a sustainable development indicator? The author has expressed the doubt that HDI may not be a suitable indicator for sustainable development. So I am also putting a question for myself, that I need to explore this issue further before I come to a conclusion that HDI can be a suitable indicator for sustainable development. Now I have given a name to my memo and I am creating it. The moment you are creating it, it will open almost like a Word document. Okay, so here you can type very freely. So I am just putting my doubts over here. I doubt whether HDI is a suitable indicator for SD, for sustainable development. See, I have put a doubt. Okay, this memo is for me only. I need to explore further. Okay, then you simply, there is an option of saving it, you save it. Okay, so let us go back to our original document. You see, in this navigation panel, if you scroll down, you will find that we have already created 4 codes and we have created 1 memo. You see, the important part is this memo that we have created is associated with this particular quotation, isn't it? So we need to attach this memo over here. So what we can do is, you just click this and expand the memo. You see, this is the question that we have put, or the memo that we have created. Select this and simply drag and place it here. Okay, now you see, this particular quotation, this is the length of the quotation. This quotation is having a code and this particular code has been attached to a memo, and this memo has been created by the researcher himself or herself, and the memo is a explanatory note to the interpretation of that particular quotation, what the researcher is feeling about that particular portion. Okay, now you can do one thing more. See, this is the code. You right click it, you click edit comment. With regard to a code also you can create a comment. If I want to write something about the code itself, okay, so I have coded it with the help of HDI as indicator. Okay, so HDI as an SD indicator may be used if found, say, robust enough. Okay, so you have another option called save, so you save it. So a comment has been saved with regard to this particular code. Okay, so with this particular quotation, this is the quotation. With this quotation we have created a code, we have associated a memo, and we have inserted a comment about this particular code. Okay, so let us further explore this document. Say this part, environmental sustainability index, measure the overall progress towards environmental. Okay, fine. Say I am coding it. Now the question is, once you start coding, you will find that across several documents or across several inputs, you will come across certain part of the input which is almost telling the similar things with the help of which you have coded earlier. Okay, here also it is talking about sustainable development only. Although it is pointing to a new point. What is that new point? Environmental sustainability. Okay, but the basic issue is what? The basic issue is sustainable development. So you see, can I create a code with the help of the codes that I have already created? I do not want to create a new code here, but I want to go back to those codes which I have created already and try to find out, can I assign one of those codes that I have already created to this quotation? Okay, so let us go to list coding. You see, we were doing open coding. Open coding means we are assigning a new code, but I am going for a list coding now. List coding basically is, you see, all these codes have been created. Unfortunately, you see, only this can be used, isn't it? Sustainable development indicators, because this particular thing is talking about environmental sustainability index. So it is a part of sustainable development indicator. So I can use this code. Say okay. So you see, I am using the same code that was used earlier also, because I feel this part is talking the same thing that other parts are talking. Okay, but at the same time, if you feel that okay, I want to put some additional codes over here, a new code, you can do that. Go for open coding and put over here, say environmental index, environmental sustainability index. Okay, you create it. Now I have a doubt. I have a doubt in my mind that whether human development index and environmental sustainability index, can they be correlated? Okay, so I want to write another memo over here. Okay, so say I am writing a new memo which is, say, relation between HDI and environmental index. Create. Say we need to explore the relationship between HDI and ENVI. Okay, you save it. Fine. So we have created two memos. Now this memo is, the second memo is actually related to this code, so let us assign here. So this memo is attached to that particular code. Okay, fine. Let us go to a picture, okay, a graphical input. Fine. Now, since this is a part of my data input, this need to be coded also, isn't it? So, say for example, this is plantation of a tree, which is a part of environmental sustainability. What you can do is, you can select this part of the picture. Okay, this selection is done. The way you are selecting any JPEG or a .png sort of thing in your computer, you just select this part. Okay, go for right click, go for coding. Okay, so plantation as a part of SD. I can use another code, not necessarily say I create it. Okay, now say I want to select this little kid who is involved in plantation. I can go for open coding and I can write SD agent. Okay, because this particular person, if he is a kid, he is working as a sustainable development agent. Okay, so I am codifying it as sustainable development agent. Now, if I select a bigger part of this picture and if I go for list coding, from the list of codes that I have created, if I want to associate this particular graphical input with the help of any of the codes that I have created, say, can it be done? Plantation, I have already created the code for this. For others, probably not this time. Okay. So we have coded a particular graphical input. Let us go to video. In the video, what happens, you see, the moment you open a video, you will have this particular type of graph, which is a frame-wise explanation of the video. So if you scroll across this graphical sort of bar, then you will actually, you can scan through or scroll through that video graphic. See, I want to say I want to come here directly.
ওইটা মরে গেছে মনে হয় এখন এটা সরে গেছে
I think what
সমস্যা হচ্ছে সেভ করিনি।
স্যার এক্ষেত্রে না করতে পারে, ধরুন কতগুলো ফোল্ডার সিলেক্ট না করে আর প্রথমে ফোল্ডার থেকে সামারাইজ করলো, ওগুলো সিলেক্ট করলাম, শুধু ওইগুলোকেই কোডিং করলাম।
আমি সেটা তো বললাম যে ইউ ক্যান টেক দ্য হেল্প অফ এ কন্টেন্ট অ্যাগ্রিগেটর which will put a make a summary of your content.
সেগুলো সেভ করে নিলাম।
হ্যাঁ সেইগুলো করলে পড়া যায়।
সেগুলো শুধু
কিন্তু সমস্যা হচ্ছে ধরুন ওইগুলো হচ্ছে যখন লিটারেচার রিভিউ করবেন তখন ঠিক আছে, কিন্তু আমি যখন ফিল্ডে নেমে ডেটা কালেক্ট করছি ধরুন কেএস বা এফজিআই, সেইগুলো কিন্তু একদম র ডেটা হিসেবেই এখানে আসবে, সেইগুলোকে আর সামারাইজ করার কোনো জায়গা নেই। কারণ একটা কেস স্টাডি ম্যাক্সিমাম 2 পাতা, একটা এফজিআই ম্যাক্সিমাম মানে এফজিআই আউটপুটের যে ট্রান্সক্রিপ্ট যেটা আছে সেটা হয়তো ম্যাক্সিমাম 7-8 পাতা, ঠিক আছে? কারণ আপনি তো ট্রান্সক্রিপ্টগুলোকেই নিয়ে আসবেন। হ্যাঁ, লিটারেচার রিভিউয়ের জন্য আপনি কন্টেন্ট অ্যাগ্রিগেটর ইউজ করতেই পারেন, সেটা সমস্যা না। It takes time. This requires a hands-on exercise.
More than 6
Unfortunately, I'm not sure whether I will be able to come. My classes were scheduled on Tuesday and Wednesday. Actually, there is a medical emergency in my family. That's why I have been, that schedule has been preponed and limited to in 1 hour. That was a 6-hour session.
Let's can we request our authority to organize another workshop and only on that particular software, so that we can.
Let me see if I can inform the weather tomorrow that whether I can come on Tuesday and
কাল রাত্রে জানা যাবে।
ঠিক আছে, এইটা খুব নিজে হাতে হাতে প্রত্যেকটা পর ধরে
শিডিউলটা ওইভাবেই করা ছিল, শিডিউলটা ওইভাবেই করা ছিল, শিডিউলটা আমি তো ওইভাবেই করে রেখেছি।
সম্ভবত স্যারের একটা প্রজেক্ট
unfortunately we did not save the project.
না ভিডিওটা করে দেখি।
Anyway, you have understood probably that what is needed to be done. You can take up this thing with the help of your own data and can do it. But I will show you one particular thing. You have understood what memo is and how to code it. See, you start using it, it is very user friendly. Okay, if you are stuck up somewhere, then you can go to any YouTube video or tutorial, you can see it. It's fine. But if you start using it, then you will find it very helpful. Okay, so I will show you only one thing, which is the best thing.
Output.
The network I will try to show. For that I need to code a little bit, then only it will be done. Fine, let us create certain codes. Because without coding we cannot progress. Say randomly I am just coding. This is Okay, I'm just putting certain random codes, okay, because my objective is to show you how it can be networked.
In video coding, we are just filling the right click.
I will show you the video coding. Say for example, if we go to video codes, see, you run the video and you will find there is a red bar coming down on the right hand side, this one. Okay, so you can manipulate the video. Manipulate means you can maneuver over that video and you can select any frame. Say I want to come here, say over here, okay, and you stop the frame, okay. Now this is the red bar where the particular video has been stopped, okay. And just click beneath this particular bar and drag it. Say up to here I want to code, okay. So you just release it, left click it, open coding, say sustainable farming. I'm using another code. Sustainable development. Say environmental conservation. Say another one, biodiversity conservation. So I am putting 4 codes across this. Now let us bring one graphical unit, one still picture. So this is a picture of a solar panel over a rooftop or perhaps in a farm site. So just select this, go for an open coding, say renewable energy source, okay, sustainable development, create it. If I create a bigger part of this picture and if I go for list coding, say some of the codes that I have created, say biodiversity conservation because it has lots of greeneries and environmental conservation. So I can use these 2 codes which I have already created, which are very relevant to this picture. So putting OK. Going to another picture, say okay, say open coding, say organic products, create. Can I go for a list coding? Sustainable farming, which is related to organic products. Okay, so this one. Is the agent. The farmer can be considered as a sustainable development agent. Let us open another picture. Say water harvesting here, and I can go for the list. Say environmental conservation, sustainable development. Fine. So you see, we have created 10 codes. We haven't created any memos. Okay. So let us create one memo for this. Say new memo. harvesting. Say a memo can be created that water harvesting is critical for groundwater recharge. So I'm saving it. Going back, I've created one memo and it is associated with this particular section, so I'm dragging and dropping it here. So the memo is attached to this. Now let us create a new network. Okay, say sustainable development, create. See, this is a particular network page. Now what this network will do, you have coded, you have applied memos, you have selected quotations, all those things you have done pretty randomly, isn't it? I have used only 4 to 5 documents. You will be using hundreds of documents and you will be coding. So it becomes very difficult for you to remember how many of them are interrelated or interconnected with each other. Okay, so manually it becomes very difficult until and unless you come to a processor which will process everything and show you the network. Okay, say for example, our primary coding has been done with the help of a code which is sustainable development. Say for example, I am taking this over here and just dragging and dropping it here. Okay. Let me enlarge the page. See, this is the code I have taken. I have just dragged and dropped this code in the network manager view. Okay, you can color it. You can just put a color to this particular code which visually is very attractive. Now what I want to do is, you right click this code. Okay. After right clicking this code, you go to this add neighbors. Okay. Add neighbors mean char pashe karagara ache, kar sathe connected. So I am just clicking all common, jotogulo ache, all codes, all memos, all quotations, all edit notes, everything. So all common. You see, it will be connected. Now I want to visualize it in a better way. So there is a tool which is called a layout. You click this layout. I like this orthogonal tree, so let us arrange it. Okay. So this particular code is associated with these 3 documents. Okay. Now if I want to see these documents in a more elaborate way, you can do one thing. You go to view. You just click this preview. Okay. So once you click this preview, you will find this particular code is connected to 2 still photographs which are my documentary input and one particular document. Okay. Now let us click on to this and again let us bring certain common addition. You see, other common additions have come. So what to do? Go for layout, go for orthogonal tree. See, other inputs are coming. So go for this one. This is another input. This is a document. Okay. This is a graphical input or graphical document that you have analyzed. Again, right click it, add neighbors, all common. Again, some additional things have been added. So going for an orthogonal tree. See, in this way, see, this is the result of only 4 or 5, 6 codes and say a few document in the form of videos and picture. You see, we have this video inserted as a documentary input. We have this 2 pictures or still photographs as input. We have this document as an input. Let us say something else. All say quotations. Yeah, we have another one. Now you can ask me a question: why software will do all the things? If as a researcher I believe that these 2 things are interrelated, does the software offer me a chance to create a semantic linkage? Semantic linkage means the linkage that is done by the researcher, not by the machine. Here you are only importing all the common neighbors, and all the common neighbors are basically networked to each other. And the machine is doing that. Machine is deciding who is linked to what. But you are a researcher, you are having your own ideas, own thoughts. And you believe that these two pictures, this videography is somewhat related to this particular picture. Or this one is related to the... See, this was all about sustainable farming. This is all about organic products. And you feel that these two are co-linked with each other. Now what you can do, you can simply click it and you see a red dot over here. Isn't it? You just click the red dot and connect it to this. This can be done manually if you feel as a researcher that these two are connected or interrelated with each other. Okay, there is an added advantage because this link will now ask you how they are related. You see, if I leave this, whether they are related to each other. If they are related to each other, then it is alright. Probably they are related to each other. Anyway, I will show you one semantic linkage. See, I will show you one semantic linkage with the help of, suppose this is one network page. You are selecting this particular code, okay, and you are selecting another code, okay. See, apparently there is no link between each other, but you feel that these two are linked. Okay, so what you can do is, this is the red button. You just select and drag it. Now it gives you certain option how they are linked. Say, is associated with. Okay, so if I click this, see, these two are in association with each other. So you can create your manual linkages also. If you are not relying on the machine will be much more robust. But in certain small cases, we need to create those manual linkages also. This is what researcher is feeling. Okay. So that is all about creating a network. So we have created certain basic thing. One is incorporation of document. Okay, we coded it. We can add memos, we can add comments, and then we can create the networks. Okay. In the next class, if I get a chance, I will go for this co-occurrence explorer, co-occurrence table, and the query tool. Okay. These are the advanced level analysis, whereby the reports can also be generated. Okay, someone asked me about Zotero. I will just quickly show you. Then it will be over.